evening and welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, my good friend, esteemed colleague, basketball expert, John Webster. How you doing, John?
Excuse me, Gary. Thanks for the introduction. Know very little about basketball, but thank you very much. And I want to say hi to everybody and hope everybody's had a great weekend. We're back rolling again this week. We got a lot of sports to talk about. But before we get going, John Pitt, how you doing?
Man, it feels like October in DC nowadays, but besides that, I'm doing pretty good. What do you guys think of that fight?
Yeah, hey. I'm gonna watch the replay sometime this week, fellas. I'll be honest. I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet.
Nothing but utmost respect and congratulations to Tank Davis. Hey, he came and he showed out. He did what he had to do. Our guest last week, HJ, Henry Jones, he pretty much told us what was going to happen, guys. And that's what happened. I've only seen that 2 times where a person was knocked out, stopped with a punch to the body, to the liver. The only other time I saw that was Bernard Hopkins when he fought Oscar De La Hoya. He stopped him the same way. But I give credit to Ryan Garcia stepping in there, wanting to test his skills against Tank. But like HJ said, Tank Davis is a generational talent. He is absolutely, positively one of the best to put those gloves on and do what he's doing. So congratulations to him. And Gary, you're really going to enjoy the replay when you watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard it was something. And in fact, that's one of the few fights that I think I've really heard post-fight buzz about in a long time. And you know how, like we were talking last week about how fights used to be events, that, you set time aside. It was a party. A lot more people watched that fight even than I anticipated. So it must have been something.
Great fight, and who's who showed up at the fight. So great event. Great event.
But man, let's get right into it. We got a whole lot to talk about tonight. Well, there was a little bit of news today about the New York Jets signing some unknown quarterback named Aaron Rodgers, or excuse me, finally completing the trade for some unknown quarterback for Aaron Rodgers. As a Green Bay Packer fan, it's like I'm kind of torn about it. I mean, I feel like he had to go. Probably should have gone 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. This drama, I'm just relieved that it's over. On the other hand, we just lost Aaron Rodgers. And it's like our loss is the Jets' gain. And as someone who has kind of followed the Jets over the years, I hope he can help them in the twilight of his career, like what he did in Green Bay, and have years somewhat close to what he left behind right before he went to New York.
It remains to be seen what's left in his tank, my friend. I mean, I'm glad for the trade to finally be done one way or the other.
Yeah, so we can start talking about it.
I love the fact that everybody, even my dear friend John Pitt, was asking, does this make the Jets the top 10 team in the NFL this year? I love this conversation. I want everybody to concentrate on the Jets. I want everybody to root for the Jets. I want everybody to concentrate about Aaron Rodgers. Leave my Patriots alone, and we'll come from the back gates and we'll see what happens.
Like I said, here's the thing, John. I read that something like $58 million of his contract is guaranteed, which essentially they gave him a $58 million signing bonus, so it won't count against the cap. Right now, I don't know what kind of quarterback the Jets are getting at that age. Someone who's getting near 40 years old. I'll just say, to harken back to a former Patriot great of yours, Tom Brady ain't walking in that door. And I hope that, again, if let's just say, if he can give them what he gave Green Bay the year before last and the year before that, like those MVP years, MVP consideration years, then yeah, the Jets will be an improved team. Top 10, I don't know. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it. I don't think so because, he's going to a whole complete different environment than New York. In New York than Green Bay, because what's the big thing he's going to get in New York? Scrutiny. I mean, that light is on him. He ain't exactly Joe Namath who can handle it and basically turn the spotlight, back on the media. That remains to be seen. He's learning the system. That remains to be seen. He doesn't know anything about his receivers. That remains to be seen. There are too many questions, even with a Hall of Fame talent like that on your roster, that I think it might be a lot to expect right away. But again, if he can get them, if he can get them to 9-10 wins, then great. I think you're in the picture, but you just can't have an 8-9 season, and you definitely can't have anything, any kind of adjustment where you're losing 3 or 4 games in a row, because New York just ain't having it.
Well, the good thing is he's going there. Nathaniel Hackett is the offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator with Rodgers at Green Bay. The last time anybody was a naysayer about Rodgers, he went back-to-back on MVPs. But also, he was not 39 years old at that time. I'm not saying he can. Let's call it like it is, Gary. Aaron Rodgers is absolutely one of the best quarterbacks, without a doubt. But you have to develop a chemistry, in my opinion. Is he going to fly these receivers out to him, or is he going to come to New York early? I don't know. The playbook, as far as learning the playbook of Hackett, I think he pretty much already knows that. But the chemistry piece is going to be important. How do you mold yourself with your receivers, with your linemen, and all that kind of good stuff? That remains to be seen. They'll be a good team. They will. But there's the Buffalo Bills there. There's the Miami Dolphins there. And, the New England Patriots are back in last place. We just don't even think about the Patriots. Don't even think about it. They're worst team in football. Don't even think about it. And just we'll go from there.
Man, you are rough on your team sometimes. In fact, you're rougher on the Patriots than you are on the Baltimore Orioles. And and they were once a team that lost 100 games a year. But
well, I say some of this tongue in cheek. I think New England's going to be improved this year, and I don't think there's a lot of pressure on them because nobody's looking at them. I think everybody's looking at Buffalo with Josh Allen and what they've been doing. They're looking at now New York Jets and what's going on there with Aaron Rodgers. And, of course, the Miami Dolphins are an up-and-coming program. They have great receivers with what the kid who used to be with the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, and the other kid, I forget that, Waddle. Those two are just dynamic receivers. They're really great. So that's why I say, tongue-in-cheek, New England, we'll do the best we can to make it to the finish line.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the NBA playoffs. I don't even know how you can sum up what Jimmy Butler did last night. That was incredible. I listened to about the first 2.5 quarters before I got tied up with a work issue. And I think at that point he had something like maybe 35 points, and they were down by 10 when I left the game. And then, of course, I wake up this morning and find out the guy busted 56 points and just went crazy in the fourth quarter. John, that had to be one of the most clutch performances I've ever heard of, watching the NBA, in a situation like that. What was your take on it? Because I'm pretty sure you watched it.
Watched it. Jimmy Butler is always a clutch ball player. He's tough, even regular season. I love Jimmy Butler. He's an old school ball player. No, as I used to say, Gary, I don't like French pastry. I like donuts. I want basic basketball, and that's him. That's what he gives you. Hey, unbelievable player. Love him. And the Milwaukee Bucks, what are you thinking now? Tyler Hero is out. Oladipo is out. You brought back Giannis last night. I think he scored 30 something last night.
I mean, he had a 30 and a triple double. And
Yeah.
any other
And
night, even even in a playoff game, that should win you the game. They were in control. Well, excuse me, they were ahead of that game, but listening to it, they never seemed fully in control because it seemed like they were up by 10, 12 or something. Butler would come down, hit a three. Then they would get to within maybe 6. Milwaukee would go on a little run, stretch it back out. And that was pretty much where I left it. But again, from what I read, he just went berserk in the fourth quarter. I think it was 22 in the fourth quarter, 21 in the first quarter. So you're talking about like a bookend performance, and just a little bit in between, just to keep them within reach before he unleashed the fury in the fourth.
And like I said, Milwaukee's got to be scratching their head. Your best player, not only your best player, probably one of the top 3 players in the league, came back, got a triple-double. You're up by 14 in the fourth quarter, and guess what? You still lose. And now you're 3-1, going back to Milwaukee, must win. You don't win, your summer starts right then.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do I think Milwaukee can go back down to Miami and win a game 6? Yes. Do I think they will? It's going to be tough because Miami sees momentum. And the thing that we're not really talking about, when I say not you and I, because we know what kind of player he is, I don't know if the rest of the sporting world can really appreciate the type of player that he is. Everywhere that he's played, he has just been not so much just an offensive juggernaut. I mean, whether it's Chicago, Philadelphia, he's one of those guys that he could just pick up a team and put them on his shoulders, put them on his back, put them on his shoulders and carry them. And that's what he's doing now. And I hope last night, finally awoke people to the type of player that he is. He is a go-to guy.
And he's a hard hat guy. He's an old throwback ball player. Think back to the bubble season. He carried them that year in the bubble. I think they made it to the finals, didn't they? Did they make it to the finals?
They made it to the finals.
And they wouldn't have made it that far without him. I mean, he's just I love the guy, man. Yeah, I love watching. Basic ball player.
Yeah, and one description is, before we move on, that I heard is like, Jimmy Butler was basically playing with 4 undrafted players, which is something. I had to look that up, and I said, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. Aside from like Bam Adebayo, who was drafted, but my goodness gracious, for him to do that, to carry that team, they got to figure out a way to stop him and keep others from beating them in Game 5.
It'll be very interesting, Gary. Very interesting.
Yeah. How about those Lakers, though?
You want to go back? Remember, you asked me what team do I worry that I think you should be concerned about? I said Memphis.
Yeah.
And this is.
I agreed.
And here's the thing. If you want to be a tough guy, if you want to bring it like you're WWE, you have to bring it whether you win or you lose. And I watched Dillon Brooks last night. LeBron James got the better of him. LeBron James showed that he's one of the best in the league, if not, he is one of the best to play the game. He showed 20 rebounds and points last night. And then they had an isolation play. They dared him to go left. He went left, scored on that, and that pretty much wrapped up overtime. After the game, Dillon Brooks doesn't want to be interviewed, doesn't have anything to say. I have no problem if you don't want to say anything to the media. I have no problem with that. But make sure you're consistent with it. Don't be a front runner and talk to the media and I poked the bear and he's old. Until you score 40 on me, you don't mean anything. Show that same energy when you lose. Show that same energy.
John, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's the thing that angers me about Memphis. It's like all I'm hearing is talk from Dillon Brooks. All I'm hearing is just trash talk. And it's not just trash talk. It's like, what is that term that our elders used to tell us? Don't let your mouth write checks that your butt can't cash.
To
Right?
say it nicely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this is a family show. But, it's like, just shut up, Dillon Brooks. That's all I got to say with him. Just shut up. I'm tired of hearing it. You can't back it up. You are at best, you're not even a complimentary player. You are basically a third tier, a tertiary player, and you're talking trash against, a Hall of Famer who just has been eating your lunch. He ate your lunch. He came in, he changed the channel on your TV, and he's about to drive your car.
Well, I mean, and I wonder now within the Memphis organization, if they lose this series, I'm quite sure there are going to be some changes with that roster. And possibly one of those changes could be Dillon Brooks, because if you want to bring all that energy again, if you want to play that role, if you want to be Dennis Rodman, if you want to be Draymond Green, then you got to bring that same energy whether you win or you lose. And see, the thing that Dillon Brooks, in my opinion, is not like Draymond Green. Draymond Green brings something special to the game. Like I said to you last week, Gary, whether he has the ball in his hands or not, totally understands the game. He knows how to dissect the game. Unbelievable player. Dennis Rodman, one of the smartest players you'll ever want to meet. Rebounder. Yes, he was an irritant, worse than 5 mosquitoes flying around you on a 99-degree day in Salisbury. Worse than anything you could think of. But he understood where the ball was coming off the rim. He knew how to consistently get 15 and 20 rebounds every game. And whether he won or he lost, he carried the same persona. Draymond Green, love him, hate him, agree with him, disagree. Same with Dennis Rodman. But they continued with the same persona no matter what, whether they won or they lost. Yeah. And also, those two guys I just called out, if you look at their fingers, there are rings on their hands, Gary.
Yes,
there are multiple rings are on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Lakers, I think right now we're doing a disservice to the Lakers because I'm spending so much time talking about Dillon Brooks. Yeah. Lakers are playing great ball. You're getting good performance out of Anthony Davis. And my goodness,
even though he got hurt,
Rui Hachimura, a Washington Wizard who is contributing to another team. How many times have we said that? And he is doing great. And there's another guy on the Lakers that's just tearing it up, Austin Reeves. My goodness, Austin Reeves. They're just doing a great job. A great job.
Well, with Hachimura, should anybody really be surprised? It's like, I know you kind of asked tongue in cheek about, how many times we said that. He was showing potential in Washington, and then they just got rid of him. I think he's a talent that they probably, like, if they kept him, they might have been in a play-in situation. And
the joke here in DC, in the DC area, is the general manager got fired last week, Tommy Shepard from the Washington Wizards. Mm-hmm. And the joke is he got fired because the owner, Ted Leonsis, turned the TV on and he saw Rui playing and saw him putting up all these points and wanted to ask, why isn't he here with us anymore? Okay, that's Tommy. Well, Tommy, you got to pay for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just scratched my head because I had to, but that was also a reaction to a head scratching deal that they didn't have to make. I don't know. I guess it spoke to what the Lakers needed, how much they wanted him, and now how much he's helping them. Back to the Lakers. Anthony Davis got hurt last night again. This is something that I heard this morning. We're back to that discussion again. As good as the Lakers look right now in the playoff picture, going forward, you have to wonder about Anthony Davis's durability. You have to wonder who's going to step up and fill that void if he misses more games. So, what do you think about that, John?
Anthony Davis cannot miss a game right now. If I have to wheel him out on the court, if LeBron has to wheel him out on the court, he's got to get there.
Yeah.
He is. I feel bad because he's snake bitten. He is a talent. He's a rim protector. He can hit the three. He can do it all. I love the guy, but he just can't stay healthy. And they really need him because I think they beat him. I think they beat Memphis in 6. I really do. But you need Anthony Davis to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So finally, Golden State, Sacramento tied it 2. Nobody really should be surprised at that. I think the only surprise is that Sacramento was so close to going up 3-1 and kind of let them off the hook. And now De'Aaron Fox has an injured finger. His status, they said doubtful. That was this morning, but I've heard that there's practice video of him out there now. So we'll see what happens with that. As much as I like Sacramento, especially with him hurting his, I think it was on his shooting hand or something. Oh, how that goes, John. I mean, I know you say you didn't play basketball, don't know a whole lot about it, but we know what reality is. For a shooter like that, it's like it's got to affect him if he can't play, but if he does play, again, that's a shooter needs every finger, and he needs every finger healthy. And that's what I worry about with Sacramento now. Monk is going to have to step up, likely, and fill that void. He's capable, but now, they need that third score. They really need the third score.
I don't believe it. I believe he has a fractured pinky tip on his finger. I believe that part. Mm-hmm. He's not going to miss the game. He is going to be there, and he will play tomorrow night. How effective he will be, that's anybody's guess. But one of the things, if he's out on the court, if I'm Golden State, I'm not taking a chance with that guy. I'm not just leaving him open because he's got a broken finger. He has hit too many shots. He has hit too many threes. He's done it too many times, not only in this series, but during the regular season. And if he's out there, he still makes it easier for Monk, still makes it easier for Harrison Barnes, still makes it easier for Sabonis. And that kid from Iowa, the rookie, Keegan Murray, he makes it easier for him. It makes it a lot easier because when you watch that game the other day, what Golden State ended up doing in the second half, they ended up putting Draymond Green on him. That last play, they had Draymond Green on him, but you remember Steph Curry came over to double to get the ball out of his hands.
Yep, get the ball. And to keep him from going to his spot, his clutch spot, as they called it.
Yeah, and you gotta pick your poison. All right, I'm going to give an open jumper to Harrison Barnes and hope and pray for the best. And for Golden State, the best was he missed it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it should not have come down to that. They were up 126, 121. There was a timeout call when they didn't have any more timeouts. That led to a foul shot. Then it also led to a 3. So that's how you end up down by 1. Then Golden State came back down the court. They shot too early in the shot clock. See, that's the thing with Golden State that, even during their heyday, this is not a great Golden State team this year. They're scrappy, they're tough, but this isn't like one of their teams that won the championship. They've always been freewheeling and sometimes make mistakes with the ball. This year, heavy number of turnovers. And the defense on the road is not as good. I still say 2-2, you're going back to Sacramento. I said before, I think Sacramento is going to beat them because I just don't see Golden State winning on the road. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But we'll see what's going to happen. I really want to be wrong on this because I want Golden State to win, but I don't see it.
Yeah. I think Sacramento's biggest thing was they were predictable in a clutch moment. And maybe that's something that comes with being a young team that they really have to learn from, that once they doubled, once they switched and doubled, and then he had to kick it out to Harrison Barnes, for the final shot. That's when you know that they are predictable, and they figured out the way of how to stop the best player on that team from being a factor at a key moment in the game. I hope that part makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and as hard and as well as Sacramento has played this series, they made a couple young mistakes. Late in the game, they shot too early in the shot clock. A couple times they didn't take really great shots. But those things happen. But hey, man, they are tough, Gary. Whew, they are tough. They are something.
Yeah. Now, the story, of course, a lot of folks in your neck of the woods are probably talking about, because there's a whole lot of Knicks fans in the DC area that I can recall. They're really in control of Cleveland, and really, I think they sent a message on Sunday that Julius Randle, he's just on a short leash now. For a coach to make that kind of move, for Tibbs to make that kind of move in a game that they were trailing, as I recall, and then they were just a completely different team. And make no mistake, Julius Randle helps them, but when he's struggling, he's not helping them. And they became a quicker team. They became a more physical team, and they basically just ran away from it. I don't know how in the world they went from, I guess it was like they were up, and then they lost the lead. And almost as soon as they lost the lead, that's when he benched them, and they just took off from there. I think, of course, that series is basically over. As much as I like Cleveland and Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell needs help. They know that. They need an inside game. They need rebounding, and they need to really pick it up on defense. They're not going to do it in Game 5.
Well, you said the key thing. Donovan Mitchell is a great player, one of the best in the NBA. Mm-hmm. But the New York Knicks have the better team.
Exactly.
And, I'll say this one thing about Julius Randle. Julius Randle is struggling, but also I would like to say, let's keep in mind, he is injured. He's hobbled on one of his ankles. So He's struggling. Thibodeau made a move, and it was a good move. I think he put Obi Toppin in the game in place of him, and it worked out. The thing with the Knicks that you got to remember, Thibodeau is the coach. They are going to be tough defensively. Every time you're trying to go on offense with them, you're going to struggle, because it's going to be a dogfight every time down the court going against their defense, because Thibodeau is known for his defense. You look at the Knicks right now, the move they made in the offseason to get Jalen Brunson, major. And I know Mark Cuban has to be sitting there kicking himself for letting that guy get out of Dallas. You look at R.J. Barrett's doing a good job. We've already mentioned Randle and Toppin. They have a very good team. New York, the Garden, the Knicks, the Garden's got to be happy. New York City's got to be happy, because when the Knicks are playing well, it makes it better for basketball. In football, if the Cowboys are playing well, it makes it better for football, whether you like them or not. Baseball, Yankees are playing well, makes it better for the baseball, whether you like them or not. Same with the Knicks. Whether you like them or not, them being in the playoffs and possibly getting ready to advance to the next round, it's great for basketball, man. Great.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I think as much as we like to see parity and balance in every sport, that sometimes your traditional powers, your stalwarts have to be good at some point. And that's why I say, regrettably, that the Dallas Cowboys probably have to win a Super Bowl at some point, because the league needs it. The league may not necessarily need it because they print their own money, but they need a team like the Dallas Cowboys to win a Super Bowl. Yes, John Pitt, I said it, and I truly believe that. And especially since the Cowboys, I think, are stocked, that window is still open for them.
If they don't win, they need to be relevant. They definitely need to be relevant.
Yeah. And that's with baseball, I would say the same thing about the Baltimore Orioles, that baseball needs the Orioles to be relevant again, even if they don't win a World Series. Heck, even if they don't necessarily win a playoff series, they need them to be competitive, because that's always been a good market. One thing I miss about Maryland, and hopefully I get there to see a game this season, is just how fans really are into their team. They were into them when they were losing, and that includes you, John. But again, it's like you like to see that kind of fandom, even though it doesn't show in the attendance. But again, you and I listen to enough talk shows, we talk to enough people, doing this, that you just hope that a team can repay that fandom, even if they're not coming out. People want to see a good product. And shifting to the Knicks, that I think it helps New York, obviously, to be competitive, because those fans are going to pack that arena. They have packed that arena no matter what. They're during their really bad periods not too long ago, where some people said, okay, some famous people said, I'm not going to go watch them again. I'm going to boycott this team and such. It's like, I'm pretty sure he's like enjoying this right now. And he should. Spike Lee enjoyed it as he should.
Yeah. I mean, like we said about the Cowboys, if the Knicks in the playoff hunt, they're relevant and makes better for the NBA as a whole.
Yep. Just and I want to throw the Boston Red Sox in that mix too, because again, they're not too far removed from winning a World Series. They're on a slide right now, but again, all they need to do is become relevant again, and baseball stands to benefit. And one last thing on baseball, John. If you get a chance to see your Orioles, you better get there soon. I mean, when I say soon, you better get there, but like really by the first pitch, because if you're 15 minutes late, you might have missed 3 innings.
Yeah. I mean, plus the Oriole games. Well, a lot of teams in baseball, they're starting the games early. The Orioles start their game at 6:30 this year, and I forgot that one day last week, and I tuned in at 7. And they were already in the bottom of the second inning. I'd already missed the first 2 innings. So, and plus the Orioles are exciting to watch this year.
Yeah. There was something else about the Orioles. Oh no, it was about American League Baseball. In my business, when I'd have to edit games, we used to hate the American League because the American League games would just plod on, 3 hours or something. I think every AL game that I've watched has been like around 2.5 hours, which that's something, John, I don't recall seeing since I was a kid. Like, the Reggie Jackson days in Baltimore.
They put the pitch clock in there now. They limited how many times a pitch can throw over to first base to check a runner. They limit how many times you can call timeout and step out the batter's box. So they've done things to try to speed the game up. So games this year aren't going 3 hours. They're averaging about 2.5 hours. So, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Does that make the game better in your opinion?
It's hard to ask me because I'm a baseball junkie. So I'm going to sit there with a ginger ale and a bag of peanuts or popcorn and watch it the old way or the new way. It doesn't matter. Now, if I'm at the Orioles game, forget the bag of peanuts and popcorn. I'm going to Boog's barbecue pit and get me a nice turkey and barbecue sandwich. So, but it helps. I think it helps the person who is not connected to baseball, who you want to get to be a part of baseball, because the game is not just it can for some people it can become boring. And with some of this stuff they put in here now, it speeds the game up. So, hey, I think it helps. You got the timer and it keeps the game moving for those that you're trying to get in. The next thing I think you need to do, but this will never happen, you need to get more daytime baseball back. Stop playing 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock games for the World Series and the playoffs. You need to grow the game with the young kids. You need to grow up with them. Young kid ain't up at 9 o'clock at night, or shouldn't be. Should be in bed. Well, again, I'm showing I'm old fashioned. So that's just me,
I
Gary.
agree with you. And as much as a 6:30 game might go against the traditionalists, remember games used to start at 7:30. You know that, I mean, that you know, not that long ago, and we were fine with that. But when they moved them back to 7:05, the games ended early. They got in more newspapers. Again, I'm giving away something about my business now. But with this, moving them to 6:30 and speeding the game up, that means more people will be able to see the end of games. And Sunday night, I think, was the example. And that was a National League game. Those games tend to move faster anyway. But I think, I was watching the Giants. Oh God, I can't remember who they're playing now. But that was a really quick game. And I mean, it was over before 10 o'clock. That game started something like 7:30 and it was over before 10 o'clock. And I said, that's exactly what baseball needs. And it was exciting. It was a riveting game, even though I think San Francisco won something like 5-1, I think it was 5-2. It was still a pretty exciting game because it moved really, really fast. So speaking of moving fast, John, I think we've moved pretty fast with this time today.
Man, the time flies through, Gary. We get talking about some subjects of sports and we have a good time. And the time just flies by, man. Go ahead and take us home, Gary.
Well, hey, folks, there's a whole lot coming up this week. Probably by this time next week, we'll be talking about the NFL draft and see who went where. That's going to be fun to watch because I do think this is going to be a draft where the have-nots really can build for the future. And I look at a team, an up-and-coming team like the Detroit Lions, and I heard somebody say, they should take Jalen Carter, which I agree with wholeheartedly. I think you have teams in there now, the teams that are contending or on the brink of contending I think there are players in this draft that can help them for the long term, like Jalen Carter, at Detroit. But that's something, hey, watch it Thursday night. I'm trying to think what else we got coming up. Well, of course, plenty of baseball and, of course, plenty of NBA playoff basketball. So watch sports and, most importantly, come back and watch us again next time. We've had fun. Tell your friends, tell your family. Tell it on Facebook, tell it on YouTube. We're going to be out there. And if you all don't tell it, we're going to tell it for you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy some sports this week. We'll see you again next week. Take care.